Well, good morning, fellow RVers and future fellow RVers. We look forward to seeing you out on the road and in a campground or a state park or a national park somewhere. Now, on YouTube, I've been recently encountering stories about water damage to RVs. And this is something that we should address. Yes, water can damage your RV. It's probably the most likely item that will damage your RV at some point in the future is water. There are a lot of ways that you can prevent water damage from occurring to your RV. One of those ways, let's say you're at a campground with full hookups and you have your water hose connected to the campground's water source and you leave for the day to go off and do your hiking, your biking, or just, your laundry or shopping for food. Just a regular type of day. And when you come back, water has flooded your RV. What happened? Well, one thing that you could have done potentially to prevent water from flooding into your RV is before you depart every day, turn the water faucet off. Right? If water does not have the ability to flow through that faucet and through that hose into your RV, no water leak. But just turning it off may not actually guarantee that somehow, some way, no water gets through that hose. So you could just turn the water source off and then disconnect your hose from the water source. All right? If the hose is disconnected from the water source, it is impossible for water to move through that hose and into your RV while you're not present. So you could just disconnect the hose after turning the water off. And that'll probably be a very good guarantee of no water flooding in your RV when you return. Now, you might have water in your holding tank. So let's say your 40-gallon water holding tank is full and you may or may not be connected to a water source. Let's say you are. So you disconnect from the water source and you depart. But you forgot to check the status of your water pump. You left your water pump turned on, which, if you're hooked up to city water, you don't need the water pump on. You should have turned it off anyways. But let's assume in this case, for whatever reason, you didn't. And you disconnected from the city water source, but when you left, you forgot and your water pump was still on. Now there is a leak in one of the lines or at one of the connection points inside your RV. That water pump it doesn't know that there's a leak. It just knows that there's water flowing and it needs to keep the pressure up in the water lines. So that water pump is going to do exactly what it was designed to do, and it's going to continue to pump water. And if you have a leak or a faucet was left on, any number of reasons that water could be flowing through those lines in your RV, that water pump is just going to keep pumping. And you can come back to a 40-gallon flood in your RV. Fortunately, when your holding tank runs dry, no more water will flood into the RV because the water will be gone. But an easy fix to this is make sure your water pump is turned off before you leave. And when you come back, simply turn your water pump back on. And if there's a leak, you'll be there to observe it and to stop it before it floods your RV. Now, there are other ways that you can prevent water leakage in your RV. You can check connectors where hot and cold water lines, say, connect to the faucet in your kitchen or in your bathroom, like to the sink. Most RVs have panels either on the inside or the back side behind the shower area, and you can remove those panels and check the connections to make sure that they're still solid. Because a lot of times your water will leak from the water connections at your shower, and it will be behind your shower between the walls, and you may not see it or hear it for a while until damage has already been done. So if you're concerned that you may or may not have a leak, and a good indicator of this is if you have your water pump on and you have all of your faucets turned off, but that water pump keeps cycling and you hear the water pump cycle, that's telling you that water is flowing somewhere. And if you've got everything shut off and the water pump cycles, you've got a leak most likely, and you need to start checking your connections under your sinks, behind your shower, wherever you may have like a water faucet, and you want to make sure that all of those connections are tight. Let's face it, this is a rolling house on wheels, and it shakes and vibrates a lot, and those lines are not metal and steel like inside your house, or bronze or copper or whatever it may be. They're basically a plastic line with plastic connectors, and those lines can crack, those lines can expand and crack, the connections can come loose, and every now and then you need to check them, and that will help prevent water from leaking in your RV. Another area is your roof and windows. This Class A roof is not like my Class C roof or the travel trailer roofs that I've had. Those roofs are a fibrous kind of covering, like you can roll it out. Whereas on the roof of this Class A and a lot of newer RVs, they have like a fiberglass roof, so it's not going to leak or separate. I mean, you could still get a hole, but not as likely as on the, I'll call it a canvas roof on your RV, like is on my Class C. Which, if you remember back several episodes ago, I told you one of the first things that we had done when we got that RV was we had the roof replaced. It was over 10 years old, and it had started to leak, and water would come down into the bunk over the cab area. And we'll walk back there, and I'll show you some of these things with the Class C, because over the years I've had issues with water coming into the Class C, and I'll tell and show you ways that we've gone about defeating the water getting into the Class C. In fact, let's go do that right now. So I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to move back to the Class C, and we'll pick up there. See you in a bit.